Not necessarily hard questions for me to answer. So as Sarah mentioned, the presentation today is about our North Cameron Drainage Project. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen the giant holes that we're digging on Kent Street, and if you've tried to drive up Cameron Street since the beginning of the year, it is one way only, going north because we are renewing all the utilities and all the stormwater infrastructure that's in that area. So I have a couple of different general slides with information about the project, and then when we get to the end, there's some graphics of what the ponds are going to look like, the same graphics we have at the table out there, and then we'll have a chance for questions. So, all right, so the project is actually a very large scope. We have this section on Kent Street that goes from Bow all the way pretty much down to Baker. Cameron Street from Commercial all the way down to Clark Street. And then it also includes the full length of Wick Street and a tiny portion of Fairmont. And then we also have this part down here, and I'm sure almost no one knew that we've already finished this part. We did it about a month ago, overnight, and we lined the existing pipe that is in the ground in Cameron Street. And so that part, I'm glad to say, has been finished. That part of the project is done. So let's see here. Okay, so all of the things that are included in this project. The main goal is stormwater improvements. I'm sure all of you are aware that the city has a new stormwater utility that started charging on your utility bill in January. And those funds are being used to fund our stormwater projects. We have right now almost 80 projects throughout the city that need to be done to renew and improve our stormwater drainage. But this one ranked at the top of the list. We have had so many issues from the flooding, Cameron and Kent Streets, that this really was the biggest need on the list. So we are installing new stormwater pipes as well as upsizing and renewing existing ones. 4 very large detention ponds. The 2 that are on Kent Street are the biggest ones, but there's also one on North Cameron, north of the Zero Pack facility. And there will also be one on on Wick Street at the corner of Wick and Fairmont. And then, as I mentioned, the lining of this existing pipe that on Cameron Street that runs from Piccadilly all the way down to where it discharges south of the parking garage near City Hall, that part has been completed. Other utility improvements. Since I've been with the city for almost 20 years now, and for most of my tenure, we've really moved to a bottom-up project approach where if we're going to do something, we're going to do it all. It gives our citizens better bang for the buck if we go ahead and replace all of the utilities that need it while we're doing a project and then put in new sidewalks and pave the street and plant new trees. We get a better finished product, and in the long run, it costs less. So we are also replacing all of the water mains in this project area and upsizing some of the sewer mains, replacing all of the sewer manholes, and then lining the rest of the sewer mains. So that will make our sanitary sewer system watertight, keeps the water from infiltrating into the system, which means we don't have as much sewage to treat in a rain event, which is great. And then street improvements. As I mentioned, we will have new and replaced sidewalks. If there were existing sidewalks, we will replace them. A lot of these places didn't have sidewalks to begin with. Wick Street, there's nowhere to walk right now. So the full length of Wick Street will have a sidewalk on one side or both in sections, which will be really nice. And then we will pave everything, stripe it. I do believe there will be at least one, maybe two raised crosswalks in certain sections to help slow traffic down. And then landscaping. We are planting over 300 new trees with this project. These ponds, while they are functional to treat stormwater and to minimize the flooding on the north end, we really want them to be attractive. So lots of trees, landscaping. They will actually have fountains in them to keep the water moving. So they will really be an attraction, we feel like, for this area. All right, so the goals of the project, number one is to reduce the flooding. I'm sure all of you have seen we have one of those big summer rainstorms where it only rains for 20 or 30 minutes and the water actually tops the curbs. We have a lot of homes and businesses that get water in their front door because we just don't have the infrastructure to handle them. So by building these ponds, the water will go to these ponds and be held there and then released at a slower rate. So that should minimize the flooding. Renew our aging infrastructure. Our water system by itself is the third oldest in the country. So that just kind of gives you an inclination. We are dealing with very old infrastructure here. Our storm system is old and aging. We really haven't had a way to fund improvements to the storm system. So really we've just kind of been doing damage control for a number of years. So renewing the storm, and then as I mentioned, the sanitary sewer as well. We're going to increase walkability on the north project, at least on one side of the street for the whole length, but hopefully on both where we could fit it. And then a big part of the stormwater utility was that the state gives the city a permit where we are only allowed to discharge certain amounts of nutrients. When it rains and the water runs off, it grabs dirt and other oils and things like that. And so there are things like nitrogen and phosphorus and sediment that are in our stormwater. We as a permit holder have to meet certain requirements. So these ponds are great because they are going to generate credits that we need to meet our permit. This project by itself generates 1/6 of the total credits we need to meet the permit for the life of the permit, which is great. It's a big project, so that's why it generates so much credits, but it's nice to see one project be able to take a chunk out of what we have to do. All right, funding and schedule. So the project cost is about $28 million. This is the single most expensive project I've worked on in my tenure with the city. Fortunately, construction is not getting any cheaper, but there's a lot, as you can see, that we are doing for that $28 million. $10 million of that we are getting from VDOT, which is nice. There's a 50-50 match that we have to have for that. Obviously, we're paying more than 50-50 because they can only max us out at $10 million. We would get more if we could, but they said, nope, $10 million is the max we can give you. But then the balance of that, the other $18 million, we took out a stormwater utility bond issue. Basically means we borrowed money that is leveraged by the stormwater utility fee. And so we borrowed $15 million in the spring. We will borrow again next year, and that will help pay for the project. And then the stormwater utility will pay those payments on the bond issue. So that's how the project's being funded. And then the schedule, 24 months, so 2 years, and we started in January of this year. So the completion date is December of 2025. We're making good progress. It may seem like it's slow, and yes, we have hit a ton of rock, but that was not unanticipated. We did plan for that, and our contractor has been wonderful. They have multiple crews working in different areas of the project, and they are committed to getting it done on time. All right, and here's some of the beautiful pictures, the renderings of what we hope it to look like. We're hoping in person it actually looks even better than this when it's done. But this is what we call pond number 1 on Kent Street. This is the one that starts at Baker and goes up to where CSX has their property. We tried to purchase the entire length of the CSX property along Kent Street. CSX said, we'll give you most of it, but we want to keep this one little piece for our yard. So we weren't able to get that. But basically, pond number 1 has what we call a forebay. The water will run into that, and it'll give the stormwater an opportunity to have all the solids settle out. And then there will be kind of like a waterfall feature between the top part and the bottom part. and there'll be a fountain here, and then in the lower part, there will also be a fountain. So it is a very large pond. These will always have water in them. You can see they will be fenced for safety, but we also intend to plant a lot of trees and landscaping along these to make it very nice looking. Yes? Hold on a second. We want you to be on the microphone.
My name is Jenna, and I live here right on North Avenue.
Okay.
But my question is, you said that CXX won't sell it. So how will that affect the overall picture if they're right in the middle?
Yeah, so it's actually not in the middle of this part. Let me go back to, it's this piece right here. So this is the picture that I just showed you. There'll be another pond that's up here that I don't have a picture of. This piece in the middle will stay owned by CSX, but the city intends to plant some screening trees along the front of that so that hopefully it will hide the mess that CSX has on their property. So, but yeah, the pictures that we were just looking at is just this part right here. And then another pond, oh, yep.
I just got a question about the ponds themselves. How polluted are they going to be, and what are we going to be able to fix any of that, or?
So, I mean, the ponds are designed to treat the nutrient credits, and basically that is by letting the solids settle out, and then also the landscaping that goes in there. The biochemistry of reducing those nutrients is that the plants actually use those nutrients. So the more plantings and things that we have, they take those pollutants out of the water. So I wouldn't say you're looking at like, oh, when it leaves the pond, it's going to be drinkable, but it is a vast improvement over the runoff that has all the dirt and grit that comes off the street before it leaves and goes into the system.
So, is this on? Mm-hmm. So with that being said, as far as like mosquitoes, et cetera, what about those?
So that is one reason why we're going to have fountains in all the ponds, to keep the water moving. Okay. That it will not be stagnant water.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Consider putting fish in?
Probably not.
Because I'm thinking about the wintertime when the streets are covered with salt, and then all that salt water will go in those ponds.
There are ways that we manage that. We try, when we do a salt and gravel mix for snow removal, and then our teams do go out and scoop that up after, or sweep it up after a storm. So we try to minimize that as much as possible.
My question is, how is the pond going to affect the residents that are close to the pond?
Hopefully it will make your life more pleasant.
Will there be a sidewalk on the other side?
Yeah,
Because you said something about there might be a sidewalk.
So,
But visually looking at it, I don't see it,
yeah,
a
so
sidewalk.
the railroad track on this picture for the one on Kent Street, the railroad track is here. Here's Kent Street, and yes, we will be putting a sidewalk along that side of Kent, so along the pond.
What else will be put in there? Because at one time they were talking about putting a park in that area.
And I do believe, I'd have to look at the plans to be sure, but I believe we added on-street parking along this side here. So there'll be additional parking spaces. A lot of people asked about a trail around the outside. Unfortunately, when we got the property from CSX, one of the conditions is that it can never be used for recreation, which is a shame, but it has something to do with all of their history of use of the property, and they don't ever want to be on the hook for something happening on a property that was there. So we're going to try to keep working on that and see if eventually we could get a recreational facility, but really it's in the property agreement that we cannot do that.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Who will maintain this? Because normally the cities, and where will the funding come from to maintain?
Right, so the
this?
city will maintain these. They will be maintained by our stormwater crews. So that is something else that is funded with the new stormwater utility. We have a dedicated crew of city employees whose job it is to keep the stormwater system functional. Up until this year, we've never had that before. It's really been pulling people from streets or from utilities to maintain things that become a problem. We are moving more into a proactive approach than a reactive approach, which is what we've been doing all these years.
More questions,
Okay,
but
one more, go ahead.
But I'm like Columbo. As far as maintaining it, I've noticed since they've been working, the water that's coming through the pipes, or there could be a problem with that while they're working on it. None of the residents have been notified, or should they be notified
So
that
you're
you're working
drinking-
on
you're
main
drinking
water
water?
pipes and
Okay.
all of that, drinking water, bath
So
water and all
I'll
of
tell
that?
you, when we are working on the water system, doing replacements and installations, there is never harm to the residents because we isolate those sections and they have been tested and are within the boundaries of drinking water. When we bring a new section online, we have to test it, each section, before we connect it back into the system. So that is something that we are bound to do by state health rules. You may notice that it might seem a little discolored, but what that is, that's all the sediment that's in the lines that gets mixed up. When we're turning valves and things that we may not usually do, but that we have to do in order to tie in new sections. And it's not really anything that's going to harm you. It's just the sediment of the minerals that are in the water. So just if you turn your faucet on and it looks a little funny, just let it run for a few minutes and it clears up.
Where I have, one of the biggest problems is owners and landlords have not been notified with certain things that's going on as far as when they're gonna blast or when they're working on weekends and so on and so forth. It's just kind of wide open and I'm a landlord myself and own a good bit of property in
Okay.
that area, and it's sort of a concern with me. Also, after the blasting, as far as foundations and stuff, if you would find an issue with that, who would you contact?
So we can put you in contact with the contractor. They did send out a pre-blast notice before any blasting started with their contact information. If you did not get one, come see me at my table and I'll take your information and I will have them follow up with you because that was
And given
handed
its
out to
dues,
everyone.
it was given out,
Yeah.
but to follow up on it if there is
Yeah,
any.
and they had contact information in that letter about who to reach out to if you had any questions, so. You're welcome.
Kelly, I'm just curious, you mentioned the fence. This is going to be an attractive area for kids. How tall is that fence going to be?
These are planned to be about 4 feet. 4 feet tall, yeah.
I appreciate that question about the fence because that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. And kids can climb 4 feet, so we gotta, the neighbors gotta be vigilant with these kids around. This scares me a little bit just because of the kids. The bottom right picture, you mentioned, and this is not my world, so maybe I just don't understand how this works, but you mentioned that's the first place where all the stormwater will run off to,
Yes.
and all the solid stuff will drift to the bottom. I anticipate the need to clean out the bottom every once in a while. What can the citizens and residents of the North End expect to happen when you have to clean that out? Is that going to be heavy machinery and shut down the street for 2-3 days, anything like that?
No, it shouldn't be.
Okay.
It would be something where we would pump down the water level and just get a small piece of equipment in there to scoop out the sediment.
How frequently?
Not sure yet. It's going to be a kind of play by ear. The ponds at Hope Drive have been online for more than 2 years now, and we have not done anything like that yet. So, I mean, they have a lot of capacity, but it's more of a, we inspect these annually, and if we see that it needs to be done, then we schedule it.
I have a question. With these ponds, I know it's mosquitoes, and will there be any odor from these ponds? And where is this water coming from? The Apple place over there? Just all this storm water? Where is it? What is, in this stuff? Because mosquitoes is bad right now, so this water will attract.
So these stormwater ponds collect everything that comes from over here all the way up on the top of the hill behind National Fruit It collects everything that's up on this end of North Kent and North Cameron Street. A lot of North Loudon will come down. So really, it collects a majority of the north end drainage area.
So is that a frozen food, that plant up there used to be Rich Food? What are they doing there? That's like,
Oh, the turkey plant.
do we get that runoff from that too?
So
That's gonna come in that pond.
that is sanitary sewer water, not runoff, stormwater runoff. So their waste has to go. We have a separate sewer system, so our sanitary sewer goes into the sanitary system, but our stormwater goes into the open system. So the poultry plant, the turkey plant, they actually have requirements that all of their waste has to go into the sanitary sewer, so it's kept separate. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a business on North Kent Street, right almost across the street from here diagonally. Right now, all the water that comes down Bow Street and all the water that comes down Liberty comes right to me on my porch.
Yes.
So nothing seems to have changed right there in that area I'm talking
are
about. So
right.
how
We're
is
not there
how
yet.
is how is that going to
Yeah,
be
so
corrected?
going up this way, we're actually installing a brand new pipe up Kent Street with inlets on the street that will catch that water and pipe it down to this first pond here. So we don't have any stormwater infrastructure really in the ground up there right now. It just all collects in the street, and I think there's one pipe maybe that runs out this way. It might be up here. It runs out to the railroad track. We're actually going to catch it in Kent Street and bring it down to this pond right here. But yes, the construction for that is coming. They are progressing up Kent Street right now. We are finishing up some storm right in this area, and they are continuing to move north on Kent.
One more question.
Sure.
How much would this add on to our water bill? Is this, we're gonna get hit with?
It should not.
It should not.
So there's a couple of issues at play here, okay? So the stormwater utility bill, when we were scoping out all these projects, we really took a hard look at cost estimates for these. And that is one reason why council set the rate where they did, is because they wanted to make sure that we're funding improvements like this. So the stormwater utility rate, there are no plans in the foreseeable future for us to ask for an increase for that. Water and sewer rates, that's a completely different beast. I can't speak to if there are going to be increases for water and sewer proposed. I mean, it is a fact that infrastructure replacement, the cost of construction continues to go up, and we have some major projects that still need to be done. But as of right now, there are no scheduled rate increases. That may change, but I can't speak to that right now.
So, just to be clear.
She wants you to be heard.
Just to be clear, the rates that we see on our bills right now is where it'll stay
For stormwater.
for stormwater
Yes,
for a
yes.
period of time anyway.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, we do already have an additional charge, because like I have a $16 charge for this.
Correct.
So you're saying that won't go up? 'Cause-
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
we
the
really,
stormwater utility fee, the rate for that fee will not change. And unless you modify your property in some way to put more hard surface on it, it will not change. That is how the stormwater utility is billed, is based on the amount of hard surface on your property. Good questions.
Hi. Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Tagnesi, and I am on City Council, and I am one of the counselors who promoted this stormwater fee for you guys. And I think that you can see now clearly, why we needed to do this and the benefit of it. And I think about your business and running right into your business in your home and talking about the safety of our water. If we did not do this, it would continue to, cost of it would have actually increased even higher than what we are right now. Fortunately, I wish we would have done this many years ago, but it didn't happen, and now it had to happen, and here's where we are. But just listening to you all, I am so glad we did what we did, and I know it was added, cost for you and another fee. But you guys, I mean, it was for the best, truly. So I just want to say I hear you.
And let me speak to that real quick, what Councilor Tagnesi said. When we presented the stormwater utility to council as a potential funding source, one of the promises that we made to them is that we would hit the ground running with projects. And there were two lists. There was a top 10 list of big infrastructure projects. This one was at the top of the list. But there was also a top 10 list of what we call bang for the buck projects. We have already completed 3 of those 10 projects, and 6 more will be going out to bid before the end of this year. So we are meeting our goal to have all of those under contract to be completed by the end of this first year, which is amazing. So you'll see, I'm not sure if you've seen the signs up on Kent Street. We have some on Cameron Street too, but we have signs, project signs that say your stormwater utility at work. Every time we do a project, we're going to be putting up one of those signs because we want people to notice that we are using that money for the improvements that we said we were going to.
This is just something that I've heard several times since this project has been started, that this project was started mainly to help as far as like whatever goes on at the downtown mall. Does this project have anything to do with the downtown mall at all?
Not at all.
You hear
You hear
like,
things,
but
absolutely.
when you hear something over and over and over again, unless you ask that question, you're not going to know.
No, I can tell you in the last 10 years, the number of flooding events we've seen on Cameron and Kent Street continues to increase. And it became very apparent very quickly that this was an area that needed to be addressed.
Okay.
One of the concerns I have, even with this meeting, was notification. How was it done as far as this meeting? Because the landlords and the tenants, to my knowledge, wasn't notified. At least I wasn't notified, and I think there should be something in place to notify.
I'm going to let Sarah speak to that because she's
have-
our PIO back
To
there.
let them notify when there is something going on as far as the storm drains or whatever in that area, because I just picked up the flyer off the ground, and I wouldn't have knew anything about it if I hadn't picked it up off the ground.
Great question. So we have been trying our hardest to get the word out in as many different ways, shapes, and forms as possible. So part of the reason why we chose today was we were able to partner with the North End Citizens Association, and they can help us get the word out. You said you noticed one of the flyers. We went on Tuesday, and we canvassed the entire area within about a 5-block radius of the Douglas School with information about it. And then on Friday, we also canvassed more on Ward 1 and the other part of Ward 2 on the other side of Cameron Street. So we got the word out that way. It was also on our social media, and we've been including it on our website and our Facebook. So just make sure you're plugged in, please, to all of our city communications. If you did not see Kit or myself out front when you first got here, you can sign up for WinText, which is our email and text message notification system, so that you won't miss events like this, so that we can get them out.
And in reality, it's not you guys' fault to a certain extent, but being older, and the landlords are older, they don't do text, they don't do email or whatever. They should be notified directly by a letter, at least the owners of the property, when a project is going on.
And also, before the project started, I don't want to put words in Kelly's mouth, but Kelly's team did go around and do door hangers as well on every property that was in the affected areas. So you should have received one of those back in late December, early January, warning you that this was starting and kind of explaining what the project was. And all of the information about this project is also available on the city website. There's a big graphic right on the homepage that you can click with all of this information as well.
And the churches received a whole stack full of flyers to distribute as well.
Yes.
So
All
the local
a lot of the local North End churches did receive stacks of the flyers, and we'll give it out to their congregants as well.
So I don't want to backtrack or anything, but it just happened to be my turn.
Yeah.
And my question goes back to, I think Carmen and someone else, maybe Ms. Jenna was talking about the water bill and how we can expect to see or would expect to see an increase. Is it a myth? I don't know, some neighbors were saying that if I got one of those stormwater containers, that would give me credits?
You are spot on, yes. So every property, every residential property in the city is eligible for a free rain barrel.
Okay.
And when you install it and you fill out the application and send it in, we will come out and make sure it's installed correctly, and then you'll get 5% credit on your bill. So you can do things to reduce your stormwater bill because that helps us. So Sarah is going to be pushing some stuff out here. We actually just revamped. We've been doing in-person workshops and pickups, and starting in July, we're moving to a delivery program. So you don't even have to come to City Yards and get it. We'll bring it to your house. So she's going to be sending out the sign-up list and how to get on the waiting list. Obviously, there is a capacity issue. We can only have a certain number of rain barrels ready at one time because my staff is limited. But once you get on the waiting list, we will be notifying people of the slots that are available for delivery. So that's coming in July.
And also, don't forget that we have monthly pickup parties, and for each pickup party that you attend, you can get 10, you can get 10, you can get 10, you can get 50 up until that next month of that pickup
So
party.
yeah, with your rain barrel, and if you go to every pickup party, that's
Each month you attend, you
45%
get
of
5
your
extra
bill.
percent off, and
right
it's
there.
cumulative. Up to 35%. And they are fun.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilor Tagnesi.
So to address what Mr. Stephen Williams was saying, yesterday I just received a pamphlet, and I'm right at 567 North Kent Street. I don't know how many times I've asked over and over again. A lot of this, but we're the last ones to get any of the information. My mom will be 90 this year. My dad's 6 years younger than her. When it comes to receiving information, they don't go to church. They believe in God, but they don't go to church, so they're not going to get it through church. We just received this in the mailbox, and what I'm saying once again is that there's got to be a better way to get information when these meetings and things come up like this, because I would really think that it would probably be 3 or 4 times more people here if we got the information ahead of time in a better method of getting the information. Like even when there's programs out here on the back lawn of this school for like people to get like their blood pressure checked and different things like that, we find out that information either the day of or the day before. So how are we going to be able to participate if we're not getting this information? And it's very important for people to live right in this area to get that information before other wards get it. Why are the other wards getting it before we get it?
I tend to agree with her in the sense that I think look around, the majority of people in here are a lot of us are a lot older. Yeah, the 50. I was being polite. But anyway, from what Terry was saying, I'm working on another project, and a lot of the people doing the projects are younger, more technology savvy, et cetera. So everything is social media. That's what people are doing, Facebook and et cetera. But if you look at the people here, most of them are over 50, and the landlords like you, most landlords are, that way. So I really think the written message in a letter and 2 or 3 weeks ahead, or a postcard is less expensive, and then a follow-up one the week before.
Okay. We are always looking for ways we can improve, so thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We will be looking into doing more direct mailings. So we promise to keep trying to do that. We've been trying our best with the canvassing. Sorry.
I was wondering, who do we contact if we disagree with what we're being charged on the stormwater tax, such as impervious surfaces, that we definitely disagree with.
Okay, so there's a couple of different ways. You can call our office at Public Services. Our number is 540-773-1340, and you'll want to ask for the stormwater engineer.
Okay.
Or you can, if you have seen, and I saw your printout, so I know you've already seen what you're getting charged. If you disagree with that, there is a, what did we call it? Appeal form that you can fill out on our website, or call Bill and he'll get you a hard copy. And you can fill out that appeal form and we will come out and do an audit.
You will come out
Yes.
personally and audit, okay? Because I do feel that we're being charged for things that are not impervious.
Okay, well, and I have my computer too, if you want to look at it, we can pull it up right after
Thank
this
you.
meeting.
Thank
And if anybody has questions about what you're being charged, I can show you the map that that's based off of as well.
And I would like to say, we have a North End Citizens Association. Most of the citizens don't participate. The city comes, and we try to get the information. If anybody knows of a way to get the information out there, better. Some people know about the meeting, but they still don't attend. So, I mean, there's only so much we in the city, because I can let everybody know, but you've got to attend the meetings. So we're going to start having regular meetings every third Saturday morning of the month at 10 a.m. So if I get information, you will get the information, because we're trying to come up with ways to get it out. Just like this, Nazar went door to door, I mean, in the heat, to try to get the information out. I mean, there's only so much that we can do. If people don't participate, there's nothing we can do. We really can't.
That's 10 o'clock?
10 a.m. on the third Saturday of the month. So that will be our North End. And I would appreciate everybody coming, because we need your input as well as your questions.
Property should be at least notified by letter. And then they can notify the tenants that this is going on. But if the landlords don't know per se, how's the tenants going? And the tenants figure that's not for them, that's for the landlord.
I can tell
And it's
you,
up to me.
We've done
It's
it
up to
both
me.
ways.
If you send me a letter, I'm gonna make sure my tenants are aware of what's going
And
on.
I appreciate that.
Whether
And
water
like I
or
said,
whatever. And I
we-
follow up on everything with the city.
We've done it both ways in the past, and we've actually had more success with hand delivering notices to the residents.
Right.
Because those are the people that are in the proximity and that are affected, but I do understand.
You're right.
your
And like I
viewpoint.
say, I'm not trying to
Absolutely.
beat you guys up.
No,
but
no, no.
The way I
Hey,
got
that's what I'm
mine
here
was
for.
laying on the ground and my granddaughter picked it up.
Any other questions? These are all great.
I have a question, but not actually pertaining, but it does pertain
Okay.
to some circumstances. This little flop.
Sorry.
Look, I'm getting ready to slap it out of her hand. This has to do with parking.
Okay, I'll try my best.
I
They are part of public services, so I'll
Okay.
try.
didn't know whether it would come under you or not. I live on North Avenue, which is the cross street between Loudon and Cameron.
Cameron.
So everybody who used to park on Cameron is now trying to park on my little North Avenue, where there was very little parking anyhow. There was only one side of the street parking, where everybody now has 2 or 3 vehicles. But it has almost come to blows between some of the neighbors. Seriously, I mean, seriously. And there's one handicap spot on the whole entire street, and most of us over there are 60 and over. Who would I address my concerns to?
Yeah, so public parking like that, because it's not metered, that actually doesn't fall under public services. If you're looking for designation of another maybe handicap spot. Okay. All right, I was gonna say, that's the police department. But really, we put as much parking on the street as possible, but it's not regulated. It's first come, first served. So there's not really anything that can be done, other than we just tried to create more parking. Yeah, I think it will ease once we get up Cameron Street and the work zone goes away. People will be able to start parking on Cameron again. But right now, it's, you know, it's an inconvenience, unfortunately.
Once the project gets up and going, as far as the homeless, or who will actually be monitoring what's going on with the whole project once it's totally completed?
So we have crews for water, sewer, storm, our streets crews that will do that preventative maintenance. We'll just bring it to the maintenance routine.
What about what about vagrants or homeless people, if they would attend it? Would it be our responsibility to monitor that?
The homeless situation usually falls under the police department. If they're trespassing, it would be a call to the police.
So the one question I had, in case of flash floods, does this drain system move rapidly enough to overcome any drainage outside?
So the goal, these ponds were designed for the 100-year storm, or the 1% chance storm. We have never seen a 100-year storm in Winchester. As many times as we've seen the street flooded, it's never been that bad. So the goal is that if we have a major storm like this, these would handle a storm of that magnitude.
Means rapidly.
And so what would happen is the pipes north of this collect it all and put it in here and holds it until it can slowly drain out. So it mitigates the issues downstream of the pond.
Yeah, because there are a few houses real close to the railroad track, and that's what I wondered about.
But I will say, we can't predict what Mother Nature is going to deal us. And so this is our best attempt to plan for the worst case scenario. You know, we see some of these flooding events around the country,
Yeah,
and people never thought it was going to happen there. So all we can do is plan the best that we can for the resources that we have and hope that in the event of a storm like that, it will be enough. I can't promise that it's going to be the end-all solution, but I think for 99.9% of the time, this is going to be a marked improvement from the existing condition.
Okay, and how deep are they?
Some of them are upwards of 15 feet deep. Yes. We have a lot of capacity. So anywhere from 8 to 14 or 15 feet deep. That's another reason why they have fences around them.
You know, from a visual point of view, I think a 4-foot fence is great. But when you have kids, 4 feet isn't going to do it.
Okay.
8 feet.
And I can tell you,
more.
we haven't even ordered the fence yet, so we are still open
Well,
to changing
register it,
that.
because that is really dangerous.
Okay.
That is that's like a magnet for kids.
And I will piggyback on it too, because I would piggyback too. It's not just for the children, it's for vagrants who may want to climb that fence too.
That's true.
And get over there. So, yeah, I would suggest a higher fence.
Okay.
And maybe
Yeah.
even, I mean, this sounds terrible, but maybe even something,
There are decorative ones with points on them.
yeah, because, let's see.
All right, well, I think if you have any other questions, I will be out at the public services table. Feel free to stop. I also have my cards out there. If you think of any questions, you can send me an email or give me a call, and we will do our best to get you the answers that you're looking for. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.